If you want to see a softball interview gone down the toilet, I have for you the babysitting of Donald Trump that Elon Musk did on Sean Hannity's Fox News program, and it is really something else. We've been kind of previewing this interview throughout the week. And one of the very obvious questions that anybody who's wondering whether Trump is really in charge would have is, if Trump is really in charge, why is he sitting there with Elon Musk for an interview in the White House with Sean Hannity? Why isn't it only Trump, the president, who is being interviewed here? And if you watch this interview, you start to understand why. As we talked about at the top of the show, Trump is diminished. Trump is exhausted. Trump is declining. Trump is bored as well. He doesn't seem to know what's going on. And quite frankly, he doesn't even seem interested in being president. And that explains so much about this dynamic that's developed with Donald Trump and Elon Musk. One of the other aspects of this that's very funny is that I've told you all before, I never really thought Trump liked JD Vance very much. And I never really thought Trump found JD Vance to be particularly competent.
We've endorsed JP, right? JD Mandel.
Or JD Mandel, as he was known at one point to Trump. In this first clip, as JD Vance continues to be missing, Trump says Elon Musk was the smartest person he could find to help him with his administration, not JD Vance. That's interesting.
I wanted to find somebody smarter than him. I searched all over. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't.
You really tried hard.
I couldn't find anyone smarter, right? So we had it for the country.
But this is the thing.
We settled on this guy.
Well, thanks for having me.
Imagine if Joe Biden sat with Mark Cuban or George Soros as his co-president instead of Biden's actual vice president for an interview on MSNBC a month into his presidency. Just imagine what right-wing media would be saying if it was Biden and Cuban while Kamala Harris was missing somewhere and Biden going, this is the smartest person I could find to help me with what I'm doing. JD is a doormat. JD is nothing to Trump. Elon Musk made the almost farcical claim that what he is here to do is to remove the unelected bureaucracy that is plaguing the country and restore power to the people. Sounds very fascistic, but also Elon Musk is one of those unelected bureaucrats that he bemoans. Wow.
What all we're really trying to do here is restore the will of the people through the president. And what we're finding is that there's an unelected bureaucracy. Speaking of unelected, there's a vast federal bureaucracy that is implacably opposed to the president and the cabinet. And you look at, say, DC voting, it's 92% Kamala. Okay, so we're 92% Kamala. That's a lot.
They don't like me here either.
I think about that number a lot. I'm like 92%. That's basically almost everyone.
Yeah.
And so, but if
92% is roughly like, I think about that number a lot. 92% is sort of like out of every 100 people, that's 92. Wait, is it? Oh, yeah. Yes, it's 92 people. 92% is roughly 92 people. I think about that number a lot.
But how can you, if the will of the president is not implemented and the president is representative of the people, that means the will of the people is not being implemented. And that means we don't live in a democracy, we live in a bureaucracy. And so I think what we're saying.
Yeah. Restore the will of the people. Let me see if I understand it. Restore the will of the people by having an unelected bureaucrat like Elon Musk say that he's going to get rid of the unelected bureaucracy. That sounds like fascist talk to me. And it is just being accepted by Republicans who, listen, not all of them, but at one point they would have been vehemently opposed, not only to this kind of expansion of presidential power, but they would have been vehemently opposed to the idea of an unelected bureaucrat like Elon Musk getting the keys to everything. At one point, we would have disagreed on taxes. We would have disagreed on foreign policy, but we would have found some common ground that this is not democracy. They just look the other way now. They don't care. One of the most remarkable moments of the interview was when Elon Musk started talking about Neuralink implants. Trump was so bored. He was almost asleep. And Trump just interjects and goes, "You like Bobby, right? You like Bobby Kennedy, right?" So Trump cannot stand when anyone else talks about almost any issue, visibly bored, and then you like Bobby, right?
Step would be to add a second Neuralink implant past the point where the neurons damaged, so that somebody can walk again, and so they can have full body functionality restored. And
you like Bobby, right?
I like Bobby, actually. Yeah, I think I supported Bobby Kennedy. I think he's unfairly maligned as someone who is anti-science, but I think step would be.
Yeah. You like Bobby, right? Just Trump desperate for Musk's approval, like a lost kid. I don't know what the adults are talking about, but you like Bobby, right? I picked Bobby. I like Bobby. Trump tries to explain that Elon Musk, even though he has been empowered to do a lot, he is also policing his own conflicts of interest. So if anybody's worried that Elon Musk may benefit or profit from this keys to everything role that he has, Trump has also told Elon, you'd better police your own conflicts, okay?
Your task now, and I pray to God this is successful. I really do. I wish you Godspeed. Godspeed, John Glenn.
It's going to be, by the way. I really believe
but there are
because the country's going to do well beside this. This is cutting. We're only talking about cutting. We're also going to make a lot of money. We're taking in so much.
What about his business? What if there is
then we won't
a contract he would otherwise
get?
Let
him do it. If he's got a conflict. I mean, look, he's in certain areas. I mean, I see this morning, I didn't know, but I said, do the right thing, where they're cutting way back on the electric vehicle subsidies.
Yes.
They're cutting back.
You lose.
Not only cutting back.
Hurt you.
Correct.
Yeah. Now,
you don't care.
I won't tell you.
Well,
he's probably not that happy with it, but that would have been one thing he would have come to me and said, listen, you got to do me a favor. This is crazy. But this was in the tax bill. They're cutting back on the subsidies. I wasn't involved in it. I said, do what's right, and they're coming up with a tax, but it's just preliminary. But I mean, if he were involved, wouldn't you think he'd probably do that? Now, maybe he does better if you cut back on the subsidies. Who knows? Because he figures he does think differently. He thinks he has a better product.
All right. So anyway, the point here is we've investigated ourselves and we have found absolutely no wrongdoing. What can you ask for us? Listen, Trump told Elon, police yourself. Keep a check on your conflicts of interest. And I don't want to hear about any problems. What a pathetic display of impotence, because it's starting to be Putin-like and sort of like, listen, I trust him. Putin was very strong when he said we didn't hack. He said it so strongly. Elon told me he's going to police his own interests. Later in the interview, Elon Musk equated his time in D.C. to daily proctology examinations.
I mean, I haven't asked the president for anything ever.
And if it comes up, how will you handle it?
Well,
he won't be involved.
Yeah, I'll recuse myself if it is.
If there's a conflict, he won't be involved.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't want that, and he won't want it.
Right, and obviously I'm getting a sort of a daily proctology exam here. You know, it's not like I'll be getting away from something in the dead of night.
Welcome to D.C. If you want a friend, get a dog.
There you go. If you want a friend, get a dog. Isn't Hannity so funny? And then the topic of education came up, and Trump fails to mention that he wants people learning science. And Hannity goes, what about science? And Trump's like, yeah, a little science, I guess.
Associated.
The only thing I want to do from Washington, D.C. is make sure they're teaching English, reading, writing,
math,
and arithmetic.
Science?
Okay, a little science.
Science might help.
You
Sure.
know.
Computers.
You're not going to have much of a problem with that, but that's it.
So you
By the way, isn't English reading and writing all the same class? Like, isn't English class reading and writing? I don't even understand what he's talking about. But as usual, Trump confused about the big things and Trump confused about the little things. And then finally, Donald Trump making an incredible acknowledgement. Trump said during this deranged interview, inflation is back. which of course implies it was gone under Biden. It was.
Yeah.
And inflation is back. I'm only here for 2.5 weeks.
That was January.
Inflation is back. No, think of it. Inflation's back. And they said, oh, Trump, inflation. I had nothing to do with it. These people have run the country. They spent money like nobody's ever spent.
So without a doubt, inflation is back, meaning it wasn't there, but it's all somebody else's fault. It's always got to be someone else's fault. This was designed to be a friendly softball interview to make Trump look really good, powerful, and in charge. Instead, he was being babysat by Elon Musk and Hannity, who position him with easier and easier softball questions, which he can't even hit. The ball's just sitting there on a tee, big as a watermelon, and Trump is swinging wildly in the air and can't do it. And Trump sort of pathetically seems to be seeking Elon Musk's approval. This is the smartest guy. You like Bobby, right? You like Bobby. I picked Bobby. You like Bobby? Pathetic. Almost as pathetic as the press conference at Mar-a-Lago. Let's talk about that next. Many in the audience know my first language is Spanish. I learned English later when I moved to the United States. And these days I do a fair amount of traveling, and I always make an effort to learn some of the new language before I get to the country. I've tried a bunch of methods for this. I keep coming back to the app Babbel, because with Babbel, you really can start speaking a new language in just 3 weeks. Instead of paying hundreds of dollars for classes or fooling yourself with language apps that are basically just simple games, Babbel is designed by real people for real conversations. All of Babbel's tools are approachable. They are rooted in real life situations. They're delivered with conversation-based teaching. You might have seen on my Instagram, I was recently in France. Babbel got me ready last minute. I got to France. I was ready to order food, ask for directions, talk to people at stores and hotels without having to use my phone to translate. There are studies from Yale, Michigan State University, and others that continue to prove that Babbel is better. One study found that using Babbel for 15 hours is like a semester of that language at college. With over 10 million subscriptions sold, Babbel is real language learning for real conversations. Here's a special limited time deal for my audience. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for my audience at babbel.com/Pacman. Rules and restrictions may apply. The link is in the description.